Howdy, this is Axe, and I'm going to show you a little bit about what I learned on basic color correction and colorization using Adobe Premiere Pro. I started my first project, full-length documentary feature movie, and I learned a lot just by trial and error, and found a system that eventually worked well for me, so I wanted to share that so the rest of you can benefit from this in case it's helpful to you as well. Okay, so as you can see down here, I've already got my movie open. It's pretty extensive. There's about 81 minutes of it, and there's a lot of different clips, and they range in anything from photos, there's things like old photos, there's video riding a bike, there's video driving. There's a lot going on in this movie. So it's important to have some kind of a reference to make sure that your scenes look consistent, the movie looks planned out and not just thrown together. And that's where colorization comes in. So the first thing to do is I would set up your dash something like this, or this is what's worked for me. Up here I've got lumetri scopes, and I've got these different tools that are of varying use, I would say, depending on the scientific approach. And there's things like making sure these bars are all overlapped, making sure that your color bars are lapped, the white spaces in the middle for all those. And there's other videos showing how to use these technically. That may or may not work, but it's a very good starting point. So let's say that I start with this as my opening scene, and it's pretty straightforward because it's just a piece of metal that I had for my opening. And if I want to make that look correct, one tool over here, and again, you go into lumetri color on this side, you got basic correction, and here's the temperature and the tint, and you can see this goes from blue to orange, and orange is the combination of red and yellow, and here you've got green to red, and then you've got red and green and yellows combined to make green. And then you've got your tone below. So the first thing to do as a starting point is, okay, this is basically gray. It's a shade of white. So I'm going to click on the clip, and then I'm going to click on this guy. And if I click in there, it's going to make that some variation of white, correct? And so I can do that, and this is what it says my numbers should be. And let's say that I'm like, okay, that's pretty close, but maybe I don't want it quite so blue, so I'm going to make it only to 15. And then I kind of like to enter numbers because then I can repeat those later easier. Well, that is a little bit too orange, so maybe I'll leave it at 20. Okay. Oops, minus 15, that's what it... Okay, so minus 15 looks good. I like that. And then if you want, you can go down here. We'll talk about this on the next clip. But let's say, for example, I like this and I like the way it looks. Then what I recommend doing is do a screenshot of just this portion showing what that looks like and what your settings were. And then bring over a Word document or something, put it in there, and so you have that for reference. So now if you have another scene similar to this, you can go back and see what settings you used and how it looks. And this will make more sense in a minute when we go to the next one. So now let's go to the launch. All right, so on the launch, here's a dash scene, right? So let's select that. And let's say that I want to make my background of the tachometer white. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to click in there. And you can see it made it a little bit more orange, right? Well, I don't really want it that orange. So I'm going to click it back, double click to 0. And actually, I kind of like it right where it was. That's just a softer, just barely a blue to it. But it's softer and it's not so harsh when compared to the rest of the dark background. So now that I have that, now I'm going to go down here and I'm going to say, okay, I want to click auto settings. And you can see that it did a bunch of work here. It changed all these levers. But I don't really like the way it looks. That's a little bit too grainy for me, and this is, part of the film that I had. It's just, it wasn't as good for dark adjustment. It's a little too bright, so I'm going to take the exposure and I'm going to move that down to like a 0.2. The highlights, yeah, maybe I'm going to half that. Shadows, way too much. Let's put 20 in there and leave it dark so it's more clear. Whites is fine. Okay, and if you want to, you can reset that by just hitting the reset button and then I'll go back down to 0. But let's say I kind of like that look. Then again, I'm going to take my screenshot of it going to copy this, and then over here I'm going to drop that in again. And now, like I said before, once I get to the next dash view in the dark, I can go back and I can set these numbers the same way. One, it's easier because it's already been done once. Two, it's going to give you a consistent look throughout the movie. And that's, again, what you're really trying to do. So now when you get into things like the garages was a tough one for me, for example. So you've got all these garage scenes where we're building the bike in here, right? And so here's a scene. Let's say we focus in on this one. And actually, I wonder if I've got one here. Let's do this one. Okay, so here there's a white mop board, and I know that. So I'm going to choose this, and I'm going to pick that white and click on it, and you can see it adjusted it, right? And it gave these numbers. Now you may be perfectly content with that. I think it's a little bit too much, so I'm going to drop it down to like -20. Actually, I'm going to drop it more to -15. I'm going to give it just a slight warm tint from a basic gray on it. And now you can kind of see down here in this corner, this is going to be your reference, what the mop board and the wall look like, right? And then again, you can move these around. You know, I'll leave them on there for now because I just went through that. But if I take this and copy it, and then bring my document over here, now I have a reference for this wall color, and that's going to be really important throughout the movie because I do a lot of scenes in here, indoor and outdoor. And like there's one, trying to find another one here where you've got stuff going on. But later on in it, especially, like even if we take this one here, and this is going to be a little bit tougher because you can see you've got sunlight coming in, right? And shadows all around it. So let's take it back when it's dark. And now if we take that clip, we might be able to do a similar thing. So maybe we zoom in on it and we see that this is supposed to be white, and we click on it and it does that to us. And then we grow back out. And now the nice thing is we have a reference. So we can take this document we've been using and we can look at the wall colors here and here, and we might look at it and say, you know what, that's not bad, but it needs just a little bit more warmth over here. So I'm going to drop it to -20, and let's see what that looks like. And you know, it's not going to be exact because it's a gradient across this wall, but it kind of gets you in the ballpark. So let's say I like that, and then I save that. And once I have these references, it just makes it more helpful as you go through the movie, because you can look at things like the color of the highway as I'm driving. That was one thing that, you know, becomes consistent. There's things like the road color. You can do things like, you know, here's one in the dark here, and if we blow it up, maybe we want to use that as the white, right? So that gives us one look. But a little bit ago, we were looking at this, and this also is going to have white lines, you can see. So now I can go down here, and you might find this white line. But the difference between the two is this one's in the day and that one's going to be at night. So you can see that's a little bit greener. You might want to do some more like this kind of a thing, an adjustment, and maybe it needs to be a little bit more bluer. And then maybe that gets it to where it matches better, something like this. So again, a lot of it is just, it takes time playing with it, but having those references is huge. And you can see, like when I actually finished this project, I had a lot of references. I ended up with, you know, a whole multiple sheets of these things. And so every time I came to a new scene to colorize, I would look back and I would look for colors of the road. I'd look for colors of the whites, the skies. You can see how the blue is a very distinct blue. And when I would go ride in the daytime, that same blue would carry through. Same kind of blue. Even in the clouds, you still have the same blue color of the sky. You can see all that's consistent. So anyway, that's an introduction and just what I've learned in a first stab at doing a movie with color correction, colorization. Hopefully it's been helpful. Enjoy.